Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking the Flash episode, A Flash of the Lightning. This is of course a reference to the episode, the issue, the name of the story in the issue of Crisis on Infinite Earths where the Flash originally died, and it's part of a famous poem that was read at Barry's funeral. Barry's mom reads part of that poem. Well, Barry's mom's counterpart on Earth 3 reads part of that poem to Barry when he's in the coma. So, very nice little mythology reference there. Um, I thought this was a generally pretty good episode. I mean, there's lots of stuff that's going on, lots of things are being set up, and it all feels just very satisfying emotionally. I mean, it's just a well put together episode. Not the most riveting episode of The Flash ever, but still really good. So the whole thing with Barry trying to find out what's going on with the crisis, and then getting to talk with Jay and Joan over on Earth 3. It's kind of nice seeing him going from, well, I'm just gonna die and there's no way to get around it, and just sort of sadly accepting it, to it's like, okay, let's try to find a way around this. That's good stuff. I mean, of course, people are going to make comparisons to the whole Infinity War thing with Barry seeing all these billions of possible timelines, and there's only one where they succeed. All right, well, this is, yeah, okay, there's no denying that, but um, I think that's just sort of more a coincidence of two important superhero stories playing around with the same idea in a fairly short period. It does sort of make sense that they would kind of go in that direction. Again, it's just really, I think, more of a question of like timing, really, than any sort of flaw in the storytelling here. Uh, I know I'm not the only one who was intensely curious about that map that we got shown, and seeing that one of the Earths was destroyed in 1986. That's very nice. But again, they've, with really out much ceremony thrown the whole, there are only 52, well, no, 53 Earths in the multiverse. We saw like Earth 211 and 221 on there. So yeah, I kind of always found it was weird that they were playing around with the whole, there are only 52 Earths in the entire multiverse. I mean, yes, that was a little bit of a nod to the comics, but it's always one of those things that just never really quite sat well with me. Well, whatever. Um, the whole thing with Cecile and Allegra. Allegra is apparently a character from the comics, but she's not anyone I know anything about. I'm really intrigued by this new direction with where they're taking Cecile. The idea of her being a defense attorney for metahumans. Things like that do have some basis in comics, do have some basis in the DC universe. Like there was even a trade paperback of She-Hulk, who of course is a Marvel character, that was titled Superhuman Law. So yeah, that seems like an interesting thing to do with her as a character, and I'm kind of interested to see where that goes. It kind of gives her a chance to sort of have a unique role in the Arrowverse. I think Jean Loring in the DC universe was kind of the go-to person for a long time for superhumans when they needed a lawyer. And of course, over in the Marvel universe, that would tend to be like Matt Murdock. But okay, whatever. Like I said, this is something interesting with Cecile and her revealing that she's a metahuman to Allegra in order to get her to trust her. I mean, it's good stuff. I gotta say, introducing this distant into a series, a new major character by somebody who becomes one of the main cast, that's always a risky move. And with Cecile, they've pulled it off. She really has well integrated into the cast. She feels like somebody who belongs there. They've been doing a good job of giving her her own things to go on, and still occasionally bringing her into conflict with the other people. Like she kind of had butts heads with Joe in this episode, and she's genuinely hurt by his feelings about the situation. But again, Joe is not entirely without reason in his feelings. But speaking of Joe, I was watching this episode and I was thinking, it's been a long time since we've had a good Joe and Barry moment. And then sure enough, we get one of those. Joe goes in there and gives him that great speech, tells the story about, you know, when he was a young guy and almost got killed on the job, and how he found the courage to go back out there. And he makes great point about how, you know, the symbols that superheroes wear mean something really important. Man, yeah, Jesse Martin just knocked it out of the park one more time. He is such a gift to the show. And I love it when like that just crosses my mind, and then sure enough, the same episode, I get exactly what I've been wanting for. It was something that was a little overdue, but very welcome. And we also kind of have him having those sort of little families, not exactly family moments with Henry and Jay and Joan over on Earth 3. And I kind of liked how they never really spell out to Joan who her counterpart on Barry's Earth is, but she understands that it's somebody that was very important to Barry. Again, that kind of would have been a little awkward. It's like, yeah, on my Earth, you were my mother. Yeah, that would have been weird. Like Jay kind of had to put his foot down with Barry a little bit on that one. It's like, look, kid, I'm not your father, okay? But still, he does fall into that nice sort of fatherly mentor sort of person. Yeah, and it's just sort of good to sort of see that. And I kind of like the idea of Joan and Henry in a lot of ways as sort of being this model of what one day, you know, 40, 50 years in the future, Iris and Barry probably will be. You know, Barry's not going to be able to be the Flash forever. Kind of the idea that one day he's just going to sort of settle down, retire, and just focus on his science. That seems really cool. I do wish they'd kind of touched on the whole thing with Jay mentoring some sort of female speedster. Hopefully it was Jesse Quick, especially hopefully if you've seen the most recent episode of Arrow. But either way, good stuff there. Also, the subplot with Cisco and oh geez, I'm blanking for a second. Ralph, yeah, I blanked on his name for a minute. Ralph and Killer Frost, her trying to be a normal person and actually like trying to find some sort of artistic expression for her emotions. That was good stuff. And I gotta say, Ralph has really kind of stepped up. They've definitely toned down the goofy aspects of his character without throwing them out the window. And it's much easier to take him seriously as a detective in this season so far. So I am pretty happy about that. I mean, Ralph is a character that is really designed to have that comedic edge to him, and they haven't forgotten about it. And they've been clear about that. But yeah, his detective side is definitely working a lot more this season so far. And I did really like that he gets his famous "I smell a mystery" line. That's kind of one of Elongated Man's tags. So good stuff there. Nothing particular to say about Bloodwork, but the thug that was trying to like get money from him. It's like, yeah, if you suddenly increase the price of something you're trying to sell somebody on the spot by 10 times, the odds that they're going to actually have the money on them at the moment are pretty low. This is a really terrible business model. Yeah, so don't have too much else to say besides that. But still, another good episode. They do never really. Basically, the fans have figured out, people who are more up on the comics than I am, because I really don't read comics too much anymore, unfortunately. I live in Japan, so I can't really go to the shop anymore, and I don't really like buying comics digitally, just because I like having the paper version, and I like being able to support my local comic shop. Plus, you know, I've got other things I need to spend my money on here in the land of anime goodies. But anyway, apparently this is a reference to an organization called Black Hole from the comics that I know nothing about. And I did like that they did mention Chester again in this episode, so that we haven't forgotten about him. Good. With that said, guys, I'm going to call here. Until next time, comment, rate, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Take care and have a good one.